I've just finished watching the second season of Love is Blind UK, but it got me thinking, why does Love is Blind produce so few successful couples? Now, this wasn't the first season of Love is Blind I've watched. I've watched several seasons of the US version, and I watched the first season of the UK version. So you could say I'm definitely not blind to Love is Blind. So today I'm going to give my reasons as to why I think Love is Blind has a relatively low success rate for long-term couples. The first reason I think it doesn't work is that most of the people who go on the show are serial daters. These are people who have tried everything, and Love is Blind is kind of a last resort.
The dating world, it's very superficial, and it's like 1-2 dates and then they're upgrading on to the next person.
And with that in mind, most of them have used dating apps, if not all of them. Now, as someone who has used pretty much every dating app under the sun, I can tell you that the more you use dating apps, the better you become at telling people exactly what they want to hear to go on dates. So in the pods, these guys are all experts on what to say to make sure they get through to the next part of the show, which I believe leads to people being told an exaggerated version of that person, and so when they meet, they are let down at the fact that this dream version isn't a reality. The second reason why I believe Love is Blind doesn't have a lot of long-term successful couples is actually the living together bit in the show. Now, the living together bit seems like a great idea in principle. If you're gonna marry someone, you're gonna have to know what it's like living with them. However, the version we see in the show is a very much bubble-like experience. You're put together in an apartment in a city that you don't necessarily live in. I mean, most of the people on Love is Blind UK Season 2 live nowhere near Manchester, yet the apartments were in Manchester. So, the 3 weeks that are supposed to be simulating living together feel more like an extended holiday rather than the actual situation they're supposed to be simulating, which therefore leads to lots of couples splitting up after the show when the realities of day-to-day living starts occurring. A better way to do this part of the show would be to have 3 weeks of them living their normal lives and seeing if they can make it work as a couple. The third reason I think the show doesn't produce many long-term couples is the amount of time that they're on the show. The show, for obvious reasons, takes place in just under 40 days. Now, 40 days is not a lot of time to get to know someone properly, and definitely not enough time when you have a wedding to plan. There's so much to do when you're trying to plan a wedding together, even for these scaled down versions we see in the show. Firstly, you've got to decide what clothes you're going to be wearing. Then you've got to decide what the venue's got to look like. Then you've got to decide who you're inviting, etc. And with all this just comes a load of added pressure, especially on these newly formed couples. The fourth reason I think that Love is Blind doesn't produce many long-term couples is the fact that it's on camera. Now, obviously it has to be on camera, otherwise it would just be an experiment and not a show, and we wouldn't get to enjoy it at home because, oh boy, it is great television. But as someone who makes videos literally every day, I can tell you that everyone acts slightly different when they're on camera as to when they're not on camera. And this will obviously have an effect on the people on the show. You may find people act one way while the cameras are on and then are a completely different person once the cameras are away. And this will have a major effect on the longevity of couples. Obviously, when they're on the show, these people can be amazing and you can fall in love, but as soon as the show ends and the cameras have gone away, they start acting differently. It's not the person you fell in love with, and therefore couples can split up because of this. So those are just a few reasons as to why I think Love is Blind doesn't produce a lot of successful long-term couples. But what do you think the reason is? Let me know all your thoughts on it in the comments. Also, just to add, I feel like the show really isn't Love is Blind, as everyone who goes on the show is like super attractive. If they want to do this show properly, we need to see some mingers, so Netflix, sort that out for next season.